Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make a heart pendant, a wire wrapped pendant that uses a stone that is shaped like a heart. So if you want to see how I made this, just keep watching. I am starting out with 3 pieces of square 20 gauge dead soft copper wire, and they are 11 inches each, and they are from Rio Grande. And then the other wire that I'm going to use is half round wire, and I'm just going to keep this on the spool. Just take the little end of it and use it, and then cut when I'm done. And it actually stopped saying 22 gauge. It started saying the measurement and millimeters of it, so it's that right there. And it is the half round wire, but I think on the website it still says 22 gauge if you go to buy it. So I'm going to find the middle of my 3 wires, and then I'm going to take my half round wire and I'm going to put it the flat side down, so the half round side up, and I'm just going to wrap it. So this is kind of how a lot of the simpler pendants that I've done start. They have this little connection on the bottom. So the only thing different about this one versus all the other ones I've done is going to be that you want this part to be a little bit longer. And I'm just going to squish that little end and then bring this together. So now I'm going to continue with this wire. And you can do it however you want. That's just how it is easier for me. So I want this to be just slightly longer than normal. And of course it depends on your stone that you're using. So I think this is adequate now for me. And you'll see why, because it's just going to go across the bottom of the stone. So since this wire end is here, the other one needs to also be here on this side. And that means that this is going to be my inside that is going to touch the stone. So those wire ends are hidden. I'm going to grab it and make a bend in the middle of that, like so. And if you do this and then it looks slightly uneven, like one end looks longer, like the little pattern, because sometimes you bend it in half and then it ends up being not quite half. What you can do is you can unravel and cut just a little bit. Like if you think this is like one extra loop on this side or something, like on this side you can, it looks uneven. This looks shorter than this. But here it looks kind of even, but here I'll show you. I think that it'll be even more perfect if we just unwrap and remove just the top most loop. This just might be easier to do than unbending it and trying to bend it again, because sometimes that misshapes the wire a little bit too much trying to do that. So now you want that to fit the point of your stone. So for me, I need to open that up a little bit more, because the point of my stone is actually not that sharp. It's a pretty wide looking heart there. Maybe just a smidge more. There we go. I think that's a pretty good fit now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, there's 3 wires, right? So we're going to take one and kind of fold it to the back, and then 2 towards the front. And same thing here. 1 and 2. And this basically gives us like a little thing for the stone to sit in. And you want these wires to kind of ride up the back of the stone. You don't want them too close to the edge because they're going to hold the stone in place. So those two are going to go in the back. And this is a little tricky to bend sometimes, so it might not look perfect at first, and you might have to just kind of work with it and then adjust it. Okay, so now I'm pushing my stone down as I do this. And I'm pressing this up as well, just to try and get a good fit. Okay, and I'm working those wires. And I'm working these wires towards the center here. Okay, so I think that's looking good. Let me get these back ones out of the way. They're kind of getting crossed over. Okay, so now you can use your hands or your pliers. But we are just gonna grab and bend, like once you're satisfied with these being more or less symmetrical, like on equal parts of this heart, like one is not too far to the side or anything, then you can bend them. There we go. Like that. Okay, and now these wires from the back come in. We're going to cross them over. Here on the back, we're going to cross them over like this. Okay, and now we're going to take one and we're going to wrap it around these 4 wires here. And then we're going to trim it. So see, it makes like a little loop. Then we're going to flatten that loop, and what you want to make sure to do is that these 4 wires don't get all wonky and like start crossing over each other as you do this. You want to make sure you keep them lined up nicely. Like that. Okay? There we go. Now we're going to take this other one and we're going to bend it, and we're going to cut it the same way. Make sure that you cut it so that it's not super long, because we don't want this little end to be visible from the front once we bend it in. So here I'm bending it in, and you can see the little end is going to stay here hidden on the back. Here's what it looks like so far. And now we're going to bend these 4 wires into our bail, and you can use round nose pliers or bail making pliers or a pencil, or you can just kind of freehand it. But basically we just want a bend in those wires. Okay? And then here we're just going to manually bend it a little bit so that it makes a nice little bail like that. And the sidemost 2 of these we're actually going to be bringing to the front. So I'm bending it in such a way that the wire is going to the front. Same thing on this side. So the 2 that are on the back, we're going to bring them straight down. We're going to cut them in such a way that you have, like from this crisscross point, you have just a little bit, and you'll see what I'm going to do. So that'll kind of help you understand the length that you need to cut them. I'm going to put them under this wire here. So you can just kind of lift up the wire a tiny bit with your pliers if you need to. And then you're just going to squeeze that under there. Okay, and then you're going to make a little loop and then close up the loop. I'm actually going to make my loop go a little higher because I don't want the end of the wire to be visible. I want it to just kind of be tucked under there. Okay. And same thing here. So we're just going to lift this up a little bit, tuck that under, grab the end and close up the loop, and don't pull super hard because you don't want to pull these out of place and misshape your bail. And now here on the back, I'm just taking a little piece of half round wire. I just cut myself a piece that's just like a couple of inches, and I'm going to wrap that around these 4 bail wires here in the back. Just kind of squishing it down a little bit so it doesn't move too much. So you just want to do that a few times, maybe like 3 or 4 times, to connect those 4 wires together. Okay. And then when you're done, you just want to trim in such a way that the ends are going to be inside of the bail. So I'm going to take this little end, I'm going to push it and squish it down inside of the bail. So from the outside, this is what you see, and you don't see those little ends. Okay, and now this wire, it's kind of going up the side in here. I'm going to trim it, and I'm going to leave myself about this much of it because I want to make a little swirl with it. And you can kind of look this way, top down, to make sure that you get the same length. Mine was a little longer on one side. Now that looks even. And what you want to do now is grab that little end and make just a little swirl. Just like that. I see, do you see that? The little wire inside here? This wasn't pressed down very well. There we go. That's pressed down now. Here's my swirl. And I'm just going to do the same thing here. Lift that up a little bit. Squish it a little. And make that swirl. Sorry, I know it's hard to see because I have to hold it and then that blocks it from view. And then what you can do is just make sure that, oops, that these are lined up nicely with each other. So like one isn't higher than the other, like this. And optional step is to separate these 4, I can't quite get in there with my hand, but with my nail I mean, but if you want to, you can kind of separate these 4 wires just for that look of them being a little bit more spaced out. Kind of like that, and then just make sure that didn't mess up your little swirls there. I think one of my swirls got kind of pushed out of place, so I'm just gonna push it back in. Okay, there we go. And then if your heart is feeling just a tiny bit wobbly, see mine wobble in there? We're gonna just take our pliers, put them in here, and bend these wires just for a little bit of a tighter Let's see if I can get this in here. There we go. A tighter fit, a tighter squeeze. And there we go. So now it feels a lot tighter and it doesn't wobble. So that is it. This is my little heart pendant. And I personally think that it can definitely be double-sided. So that is it. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.